Hello, I'm Avery or Hazel or Kylie. You can just pick one. I don't care.
I am Lily, I think.
You think?
I'm pretty sure.
Huh. Okay, guys. You heard it here first. Lily is not sure if she's Lily.
I don't know.
D-
Am I imposter? Does an imposter know that they're an imposter?
it's the inevitable question. Do a lot of people not know if they're robots?
It's a tragic question indeed.
Okay, so today, welcome to the From the Closet podcast. Today we are covering Coraline as our free movie of the month for February 2023. I almost said two. Actually, at
No
first I
longer.
almost said one. At first I almost said one, and then I went to say two, and then realized, no, it's 2023.
God, I don't want it to be 2021.
For real. So obviously today's episode will contain spoilers for Coraline. You can join us tomorrow for Captain America Civil War, and next week for Zootopia and Amphibia Season 2. You will find a link below to in the description to Just Watch, which will have links to all the places you can rent, purchase, or stream this movie. For us here in the US, it is currently free on Pluto TV.
It's not a planet,
The link
it's a
is
streaming service.
whatever. Our Just Watch link is to the US version of the site. However, if you use the Just Watch app, it will automatically redirect you to your country's page. And if you use the website, you can change the country from the website page. Also in the description is a link to our Patreon, where you can get access to episodes of this show early, vote on future episodes, and get early access to episodes of our sister show, Off the Shelf, which is about books. That show is exclusive to YouTube and Patreon. Also in the description is a link to Anchor.fm, which itself has links to every platform that this podcast is on, as well as links to our Instagram and Twitter, where you can be notified when we release a new episode. And with all that being said, spoilers for Coraline, I guess. Get out of here if you would like to avoid those.
So, I just want to begin saying that I'm apparently a hypocrite.
Why is that?
So, remember what we were supposed to watch? Blade? I was like, oh, it's a horror movie, right?
Yeah.
Let's watch Coraline.
I suggested both.
That's true, but I went with Coraline saying, yes, I want to cover this.
No. You didn't go with Coraline. What happened was I suggested Blade, which on the first was free, and then it disappeared on the first. So it just completely vanished. Yeah. So we had to delay our recording by a day while we tracked down another movie to cover, and it was between this movie and Paranorman. But this is the kind of horror movie that is good horror.
Oh, absolutely.
Where the plot itself is it's creepy and unsettling instead of gore and jump scares.
What's the actual hell?
What?
Okay, so I got a spam call that's the name that appears on my phone when they're calling me is literally just telemarketing.
Wow. In the middle of our podcast. That's just amazing.
I don't actually think the sound got through, but my reaction did.
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah. Well, that was annoying.
Yeah. But as I was saying, this is the kind of horror I enjoy. This is, I don't know. A lot of horror movies we're not going to be covering on the podcast. The only reason Blade was even up for, was even an option there is because it's a Marvel movie, and Marvel Studios is doing a new Blade movie soon. But this new one is set in the MCU, so like I kind of wanted to see where it all started, and plus there was also the possibility that it would become a multiverse story. But unfortunately, the rug got pulled out from under us, and now we're doing Coraline, which is good because I'm doing a thing privately where I'm trying to watch 100 movies this year that I have never seen before. Coraline is one of them.
Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, but okay, so
Before
while
we
I do
actually
appreciate
talk,
that,
sorry, before we actually
go
talk
ahead.
about the movie, I really do want to mention the people behind the movie as well. Um,
All
I
right.
I forgot what the studio is actually called, but it's a studio dedicated to the stop motion, and apparently they're based in Oregon.
Yeah, I had heard like when we watched the cinema therapy video, I had heard them mention multiple times that they are based in Oregon. Something else that's notable about this movie is it's a book to movie adaptation, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But I guess something I should say, like while I appreciate like this style of horror and I find it more fun to watch than, your typical gore horror or your horror movies that are just filled with jump scares and that's the horror aspect.
Like
Or
Five Nights at
shock value
Freddy's.
stuff, just yeah, shock value stuff, that stuff just doesn't appeal to me. I prefer my horror movies to make me feel uneasy. Um
God, everything in that movie just makes you feel uneasy. To the sound design, um, God, the buttons in the eyes,
while
everything.
I while this movie does everything that it sets out to do,
Hmm.
I don't find this movie to be super, super compelling. Like, I enjoy it. It's a good movie, but there's nothing to keep me coming back. I may not even read the book.
Interesting. I mean, I was never planning on reading the book anyway, but
Yeah, at the end of the day, I just think this movie is okay.
fair enough. I was always meaning
And
to watch this movie. I've seen so much of this movie. I probably seen the entire movie just in clips, but I've never set out to just watch it the entire way through.
yeah, I do remember seeing advertisements for this movie, and apparently, I think the studio also made Paranorman, which they advertised the shit out of.
Mhm. I
But
actually saw another one of their movies, Kubo and the Two Strings, which another movie I really want us to cover as well.
yeah, maybe next month. We'll see.
Um, Actually, sorry, I'm just thinking about it. So, for this studio, Oregon has this entertain. It's kind of like this museum that changes its theme. Um, it's called OMSI. It's a museum where interactable museum basically for any age. And they actually had a theme for this studio during its like something anniversary. I forgot what year it was. I regret not going to that.
Okay.
Gone.
So I'm sorry. I just happened to look over at my Surface while you were talking,
Hmm.
and I saw that the budget for this movie was $60 million.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah,
What's the box
and I'm
office?
just like,
The box office.
I I don't see it immediately right here.
Hmm.
But then like I kept scrolling. I scrolled down a bit to see like more information about it, and I'm seeing that the book was written by Neil Gaiman. That actually might get me to read the book
Um.
because Neil Gaiman is a fantastic author.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not actually surprised it had such a big budget. I mean, it takes time and effort to make these movies. I have a massive amounts of respect to people that can pull this stuff off.
Yeah. And like the whole thing is stop motion animation. Like that's we've only covered one other stop motion animated movie on this show so far, and that was The Nightmare Before Christmas.
And if I have anything to say
Which,
about it, this won't be the last.
yeah, I mean, we won't cover a lot of stop motion animated movies, but we'll do some.
I can't imagine us doing any of the stop motion Christmas movies, but I would definitely like to
Please,
cover
no.
most of the work that this company has done.
Maybe.
They haven't actually
But
released that
yeah,
many movies, so it's definitely plausible.
yeah. I'm kind of curious about a certain cast member. Uh,
Hmm.
cause
Who would that be?
well, it's the person who played Wyborn, I believe his name was.
Why were you born? That was my favorite insult throughout the entire movie.
Okay, so apparently he's played by a Robert Bailey Jr. And I'm just gonna look up what else this actor is in because I could have sworn I've heard him before,
Hmm.
and I'm very curious.
I'm
It
curious too. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm bringing up his Wikipedia right now. Uh, Filmography. Here we go. I'm just gonna scroll through here, and it actually doesn't look like he's in that much, really. Uh,
Hmm.
he's
You
in a
don't say.
lot more TV shows than he is movies.
You
Uh,
don't say.
but even then, he's not in anything I've ever seen before. But he sounded familiar.
I mean, I thought that too. There's a few voice actors like, wow, this has to be this other person. No, it's not. Like, oh.
Yeah, it happens a lot of times, I guess, where like sometimes actors have very similar voices, and sometimes they're intentionally mimicking another actor.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that happen.
I mean, there's a case in Avatar: The Last Airbender where Mako, the voice of Iroh, died, and they got someone who could impersonate him really well
Oh,
for
yeah.
season 3. So, I don't know. I thought I recognized the voice, but I guess I didn't.
Hmm.
But
Huh.
the movie is really an exploration of escapism.
Oh, absolutely.
And, like, it shows how escapism can be a problem if you allow it to be a problem.
I mean, you can't really
There,
escape from your problems forever.
right. Of course, escapism has a healthy side too. Sometimes, like, when you're stressed out about something, it helps to escape for a while so that you can come back to it in a calmer state of mind.
Something like my mom has always said, everything is good in moderation.
I don't necessarily agree with that because there are some things that I don't think are good in any amount.
I mean, I think she'd agree with you there, but I mean, there's a reason why she says it. Like, you know, for candy and sweets, you can have it, but just
Yeah,
in
like I don't know.
moderation.
I don't think there is a healthy amount of uranium to have in your diet.
I don't think that's what she meant. I don't think when she says that, it's like, yes, you can only have one uranium tablet, but never two.
Yeah, but I don't know. This movie, like I kind of think the villain is you know, actually the whole movie, now that I think about it, kind of reminds me of Alice in Wonderland.
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just how everything feels. Like she's going to this other world, and all the characters very, very much feel like Alice in Wonderland characters. The villain,
Except it's a little
um,
bit more creepy.
I mean,
Like a
Alice
lot
in
more.
Wonderland is pretty creepy. Just saying, it is pretty creepy.
Oh yeah. God, the buttons in the eyes is just so unsettling.
See, I didn't find the buttons that weird. It's more like the idea of them replacing Coraline's eyes with buttons. That's kind of unsettling.
Also the ghost, the one that's always screaming.
Yeah, like a lot of that. You know, okay, that there's something else that I kept thinking, which
Huh.
obviously you have no frame of reference for this, but the main villain of this movie, she reminds me of Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Who?
Yeah, you'll see that movie in a few months and you'll definitely understand the comparison then, but like there are a lot of parallels to Ego. It's interesting.
The villain is very and it's an interesting character. She brings people to her world so she's not like lonely.
Yeah, it feels like there's more to that, and maybe that's what the book is for.
Maybe.
Yeah, there is the other aspect of like, I do like seeing movies before reading the book, because that way I don't get disappointed by the movie um, until later. I can still enjoy the movie the first time around.
Hmm, that's a good
Yeah,
aspect.
yeah, at least when it's possible to enjoy the movie. There are some cases where, like, I think if I had seen the movie first, I probably would never read the book. Percy Jackson, Aragon.
Yeah. Percy Jackson is just weird.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's something. This movie wasn't altogether super great. It's not. It wouldn't go anywhere near my top 50 of all time, but like, it's good. I don't really know what else I can say. Like,
I have a
it does very much remind me of Alice in Wonderland. It does very much reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It
there's not a lot about this movie, but God, the but I do want to talk about stop motion as a whole because you don't really see much of the stop motion anymore.
I another thing too before you go on to that tangent, I do like Coraline's hair. Blue hair is always interesting.
Absolutely. I've always had a fascination with stop motion. Always have, and I don't think I'll ever stop because it's the techniques that they can use. It and it looks somewhat real. All this is real stuff moving. Not obviously real humans, but it's real clay, real dolls. You know the techniques of how they can perform all of these shots. It's memorizing. And I understand
You mean,
why there's not more stuff like this. Hell, there's
yeah, it
even
takes a lot of work.
yeah, there's even I've been seeing animation that's supposed to emulate the feel of claymation. Because while they like the feel of it, they can't invest the time into it.
Yeah, like sometimes you have like for stop motion, you very often have to take tens of thousands of photographs for just 10 minutes.
Like I respect uh, all forms of you know movies, right? Live action, animation. I know it's under animation, but anime, you know. But honestly, I respect the dedication of stop motion the most. It's just insane
I think
what they can do.
I think movies and TV shows and video games, just collectively the three of them, are possibly the highest art form. Because like you have painting, drawing, coloring, all that stuff. You have that art
Hmm.
that goes into movies. You have acting, which both can be done in movies, TV shows, games, but also like on a stage. You have set designers, you have costume designers, you have musicians, you have writers. All these different art forms come together in movies, shows, video games. They're really just a combination of every other art form that exists.
Absolutely true.
Yeah. And like
Um,
it
Speaking about the music, um, God, I love the music in Coraline because it's unsettling when it wants to be, especially
I
when I
never
know,
really paid attention to the music.
especially when I know a lot of the techniques. Some music theory stuff. You know,
Yeah, I never really paid attention to the music in this movie. Um so I can't really comment here. It's I don't know. It's just something, I guess.
yeah, and the actions
Reflecting
of
on this
our main character is interesting. Obviously, everyone in this movie seems to have like their own little goal, you know. Except a
yeah,
few, like the black cat. You know, you don't really know much about that one by design.
for sure, for sure. It's this movie, I don't know how to feel about it.
Hmm.
Like honestly, I don't. Like it's meant to make you feel uneasy, it's meant to feel creepy. It does that. It does it well. The story is not super compelling, but the way it's written actually does very much have a Neil Gaiman style, and I can't believe I didn't pin that it was Neil Gaiman before. Um, because like Neil Gaiman wrote one of my favorite books. It's called The Graveyard Book, and I don't know that it has a movie adaptation, but it
Hmm.
was a very interesting book. I'll say that.
Interesting. The movie is creepy, but it also has some other underlining themes as well. I would like to talk about. This is almost a little bit uplifting as well, especially with
In
the
what
ending with
way?
a bunch of roses.
I mean that is something like it ends in a very interesting way. It almost kind of felt a little bit weird um, with like the I guess claws of the villain moving around on their own,
Oh God. Yeah, that
and
was
then
also creepy.
they bring back that well that they established very early on in the movie.
I love that. How the well was brought back. It
And
was
the
not just a
one of the other thing. Go
sorry.
ahead.
How it wasn't just a random plot point designed to have a main character meet another character.
Yeah. Uh, the other theme that seems to be running through this movie is like I don't want to call them neglectful parents because they're not. They're just busy. And they're busy parents. You can tell they love their daughter, but like she's bored
And
and she
this
hasn't.
is like I think this is trying to be like in a time before all of these electronics and whatnot. Like the dad has like this very old computer.
Yeah, and like the daughter hasn't learned to cope with boredom, and I think that it's certainly a dilemma because like while a child might see it as neglectful, that's not exactly true. They're just trying to get work done, and it's obvious they love her, but they can't spend every single second with her.
But I actually really love this storytelling because it paints everyone in the right. Because Coraline's actions still make sense. You
Yeah,
get what I mean?
for yeah, for sure. The other thing too about like sewing button eyes onto Coraline, it that whole concept kind of reminds me of like an episode of Goosebumps
Hmm.
where the characters go into this town of like plastic figures, and they like the plastic figures are alive and like are wanting to turn one of them into plastic. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's probably weird.
Goosebumps does weird stuff sometimes.
Surprisingly, I have no doubt on that.
I mean, there's an entire Goosebumps story about lawn gnomes taking revenge. So,
That's a story for me.
yeah. But I mean, regardless, I think this movie's okay. I think it explores the topics of escapism and like loving parents who are just busy and like trying learning to adapt to boredom really well. Um, it just isn't a super exceptional movie. It just does everything that it wants to do
Hmm.
and doesn't do more than that. And I think there is some beauty in that. Not every movie needs to be one of the greats to be enjoyable.
We don't need a Marvel's Endgame to be enjoyable.
I wouldn't call Marvel's Endgame to be one of the greats. It made a lot of money, sure, but it's not.
I feel
I
like
mean,
it
it's not even
wanted
better
to
than
be one of
Infinity
the
War.
greats. I
Yeah,
just feel like it just wanted to be one of the greats.
it's definitely a great moment for the community, but on its own as a movie, it took a lot to answer some of the like. It took a lot of stuff to come after it to answer some of the questions that people had.
I see. This movie is so interesting. I'll be honest. Um, like Avery said, it's not super phenomenal, but it's probably one of my favorite movies just because of um no, I wouldn't say that, but like one of my favorite minimalistic movies. It doesn't have
Yeah,
that much going for it, but it has everything going for it.
everything that it has is good. It's just nothing is great,
I wouldn't say
and that's
like that specifically that, but I understand.
yeah. But I think I've said everything that I want to say about this movie.
Yeah, I guess I have too.
All right, so I'm gonna bleh.
And
God,
you got a
words,
bleh?
what are they? Yeah. I'm gonna bleh. All right,
Have fun.
I'm gonna get into the critic ratings for this movie. So IMDb gives this movie a 7.7 out of 10.
Just
Rotten Tomatoes has it at 90%. Voodoo has it at 4.5 out of 5. And then 92% of Google users liked this movie.
I can definitely understand for the high ratings. As for me, I enjoy this movie a lot, and honestly, I would watch it again. So I think an 8.4 is acceptable.
I'm going to give this a 7.3. And that's where it sits. So, like I said, you can join us tomorrow for. Actually, let me check the schedule again. You can join us tomorrow for Captain America Civil War, and next week for Zootopia and Amphibia Season 2. But until next time, I've been Avery, that's been Lily, and we'll be seeing you.